Khary's Kitchen, powered by Food Hall, Grocery Made Greater, Ibis, a tradition of excellence, Caribbean flavors. In the heart of every kitchen, Lotus, the confidence to create, Correga Garden Supplies, Good and Natural, Indie, Spice Up Your Life, distributed by Edward B.B. Harry, Champion, Always a Winner, distributed by Edward B.B. Harry, Lion, the power behind our great taste traditions, Excellence Stores Limited, Live, Create, Do.
Breakfast is the most important meal for the day. And on most breakfast places, one thing you'll find for sure is eggs. I'm at the Tunapuna market where I'm going to get some fresh eggs from Mr. Suku. So I want to just get a half crate today. Thank you very much. Now that I have my eggs, it's time to go to the kitchen and get breakfast going. I'm so excited to have you join me in the kitchen. For each episode, we're going to start with Feed the Farm, where I'm going to teach you some ways you can make some nice meals even if you're on a budget. Then I'm going to take you to chef school, where I'm going to teach you some basic skills that I learned in chef school, and I'm passing it on to you. And finally, we chef things up just a little bit, because I like to do things a little bit fancy, but you don't have to be a chef to chef things up. Welcome to Khary's Kitchen. So we're starting things off right with the first meal for the day, breakfast. And for breakfast, we're gonna have some pancakes. With that, we're gonna do some bananas, but not just any bananas, Banana Foster. I know it's sounding fancy, but trust me, have your back is not as hard as it seems. With that, we're gonna do some omelets, and I like plenty onions in mine. So I'll show you how to do some caramelized onions and fancy it up just a little bit. So the first thing we're gonna tackle is that pancake batter. And we're starting things off with some eggs, butter, I'll need some sugar, of course. Good and natural, cracked wheat. Should be enough. Let's get working. The nice thing about pancakes is that it's very forgiving. So you could do many things. You could flavor it the way you like. You could add different types of flavoring. And speaking of flavoring, I'm gonna add some vanilla essence. And while I'm here, I'll grab my salt. And of course, it's Caribbean flavors. Because I just like their stuff. I like the flavors that they work with. Just a pinch of salt, because pancakes are usually on the more sweet side, but you don't want to be too salty. Roughly half tablespoon of butter. And we'll be a little bit liberal with the sugar. I'd say that's about 2 tablespoons. And we whisk. I have my milk close by in case I need to add any more liquid. But a little pro tip, if you make your pancake batter a little bit thicker, it tends to be a little more fluffy. And of course, your pancakes won't rise if you don't add baking powder, right? So I'd say a teaspoon and a half would be enough for this batter. So you whisk and whisk and whisk until the sugar is dissolved, the salt is dissolved, but you don't want to overwork your gluten as well in your flour. So when it's nice and smooth like this, we're good to go. So we're using a medium heat. I don't know, it's just almost like a traditional thing at this point where most people burn the first pancake, and I don't understand why that happens. So I'm trying to avoid that today. I'm adding some butter to my Berlinger House pan and my Berlinger House ladle as well. I'm just gonna let this butter melt, and once it gets to temperature, we'll start making pancakes. All right, my butter is nice and melted, so I'll get the first pancake in the pan. So when your pancake is cooking, what you're looking for is bubbles on the top. Now you can make pancakes with whatever type of flour you like. I'm using the cracked wheat this time because it adds a little more fiber, a little more roughage, and therefore a little more nutrition as well. Now that I'm seeing the bubbles that I'm looking for, it's time to flip. And this is the last pancake coming out here. And now for the bananas. And again, it's easy, trust me. It's a fancy name, but it's simple. So I'm gonna get my fire going so I can melt my butter while I cut the bananas. Some butter in the pan to get that going while we work on this. The reason you're cutting it a little thicker is so that it actually stands up to the heat. And the butter is melting here nicely. So to that we're going to add some brown sugar, and I'm going to use 2 tablespoons. To that I'm also going to add a little Caribbean flavors, vanilla essence, just a splash. And we'll balance the sweetness with some salt, just a pinch. Now it's important that you don't work with a high flame, because what will happen is that your sugar may burn, and you don't want that. Yes, we want caramelization, but we don't want browning. We're not making browning today. Now that the sugar is nice and caramelized, it's time to add the bananas. Make sure it all goes in on one layer, because we want the cut side to be just coated with that caramelized sugar and butter mixture. I will add just a pinch of cinnamon for some extra flavor. Now we carefully move these around the pan, ensuring that we don't break them up, because we still want some nice whole chunks. So we're going to bring this to a golden brown color. That's the perfect color for this. Not too dark, not too light, just right. So this is nice and golden brown, so it's ready to go. And the thing about banana foster, it's something different from, your regular maple syrup you put on your pancakes. And the thing is, you know what ingredients are in it because you made it from scratch. Look how nice this turned out. So now that my pancakes are done, the topping for the pancakes are done, the next thing that's going to happen is my omelets. So we're going to do the caramelized onions. Start off with some butter. And it's important that you use enough but not too much. Once that gets melted, we'll add all these onions in there. We want them to be packed tight in the pan so that they'll start to release the liquids and the sugars will start to develop. When you hear that sizzle and the butter is melted, it's time to go. The thing about caramelized onions is that you need to leave them alone. The sugars wouldn't develop if you keep moving them too much. So you let them sit for a while, then you move them, let them sit for a bit again, let the sugars develop, and that's the way we'll handle it. And these onions are ready, sweet, rich, brown, and that's what we're looking for. Now that the filling for my omelette is done, it's time to tackle the eggs. So you're going to start with a fresh pan to do your omelette. And remember, too much heat is your enemy when cooking eggs. So keep it nice and low. Butter goes in next. You want the egg to float on the butter. Speaking of eggs, 2 eggs for the omelette. And these nice fresh eggs I got from the Tunapuna market from Mr. Suku, if I remember well enough. Nice, fresh, and perfect. And my butter is melted. Get that going in the pan. I tend to salt my eggs while it's cooking. For me, I find it gives a little more even seasoning and it affects the taste of it a little differently. Some people beg to differ. Some people have their own way to do it. And you could do your way that you're comfortable with as well. So again, just a pinch of salt, because your filling has seasoning and stuff in it as well, so you don't want to over season your eggs. I don't want my eggs to sit in one place for too long, so I'm just going to move it gently from the sides. And it's very easy when you're working with a nice non-stick pan. And now it's just about time to add our sweet caramelized onions. I know breakfast is complete without something hot to drink in the morning. So I'm going to make some good and natural ginger tea. And the kettle is just about ready too. And I just can't wait to dig into this breakfast. And that's why I call it a breakfast of champions. Class is in session. Welcome to Chef School. So for today's Chef School, we're going to learn how to poach an egg the proper way. So the first thing you're going to need is some simmering water, and I had this going beforehand and it is just about to simmer. You don't want a rolling boil because that will mash up your egg and you don't want that. To make your egg set a little faster, you also need some acid. Here I have some lime juice. Some people use vinegar, but you can use whatever acid is your preference. And I'm using just about a tablespoon. Next is the egg, and you want to be very careful at this point. So you want to crack your egg on a flat surface close to your pot as much as possible and go right into the water. And the acid in there will make the egg start to set up. What you'll do at this point is use your slotted spoon and just gently roll the egg over itself. So you're doing this motion in your pot to let the egg white surround the egg yolk. And you're looking for an oval type of shape. So my first egg is at the desired doneness. So I'm gonna leave this on one side on my plate over here, just about ready. So I'm gonna wait a little bit longer just till my second egg gets to that desired doneness. Because in the next segment, Chef'd Up, we're gonna be doing something that poached egg is the main ingredient, and that is Eggs Benedict. Welcome to Chef'd Up, and for this segment, we're gonna be making Eggs Benedict. But not just any Eggs Benedict, we're gonna chef it up a little bit, as the name implies. So we're gonna do some mushrooms at the base. It's called mushroom duxelle. Again, don't get too intimidated. It is easy to make, and I'll show you how. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is start with our melted butter. We have eggs here already. We need a bowl to mix it, a whisk to mix as well. We need some acid, and then our ingredients to do a reduction. Acid I'm using this time is lime juice. It just gives that fresh kick that I like. And we're gonna use these aromatics. Clove and onions, you could use shallots. I have some fennel seeds in here as well. You can flavor it how you like. I'm gonna add just a splash of water to dilute the lime juice just a little. And while that is happening, we need 1 egg yolk to keep the whites. I know you don't have to waste these whites. You could make an egg white omelette. You could do something else with it. This is going nicely. Now you want to temper your egg yolks. And I'm going to be a little bit lazy today. So generally we'd use a double boiler. But an advanced technique you could use is going very close to your flame, but you need to play with the temperature a little bit. So you need to go in and out a little bit like that, because you don't want to scramble your egg yolks, but you want to temper them. And you want it to increase in volume as well. So my reduction is just about ready. We just want the liquid from this, and it's not much at all because it's a reduction. So we're trying to concentrate the flavors, and we just want the liquid from this. So just very gingerly place a little drop at a time and whisk it into your eggs. Now I know what you might be thinking. This is a little bit of work, it's plenty work, right? But you know, you could, if you want to impress somebody, you want to impress your significant other, it's an anniversary, it's a special occasion, you could do this. So with your butter, and mind you, this is melted and clarified butter. And when I say clarified, I mean that I took off the milk solids. When you melt butter, you see that white, more liquid part. You separate the nice yellow fat from the white liquid part. Now, for this part, it's very important to go drop by drop at first to get your butter mixed in with the egg yolk and the acid that you had earlier. And there's the last of my butter, so my hollandaise is done. And this is what you're looking for. Nice, smooth, pale yellow. It's time to move on to making my English muffins. So the first thing we're gonna grab is our milk, yeast. I need to feed the yeast because the yeast is a living thing and yeast love sugar. We'll also need some butter, a little water, and some salt. So the first thing is the fermentation process, and we are adding about 3/4 cups of milk, 1/2 cup of water, 2 tablespoons of sugar, brown sugar in this case, and just allow the yeast to feed on the sugar. And we'll know that it's ready because it'll start foaming at the top. And that's good to go. In the meantime, I'm going to grab some flour. And today I'm using good and natural multigrain flour because it's good, it's natural, and it has some extra nutrition in there, some roughage and some vitamins and minerals, and you just can't go wrong. So the yeast is nice and foamy, so that tells me that it's alive, and that is good news. So the next stage we're going to go is we're going to add some fat to that because fat means moisture. About 2 tablespoons of softened butter. 1, 2. We mix that in, and then goes our multigrain flour. And we are trying to make a soft dough right now. And with 2.5 cups of flour, we bring it together. And you may need some extra flour for dusting. So my dough is coming together nicely. Now that the dough is coming together, I can transfer it to my work surface and start kneading by hand. Now, English muffins is a process. So I'm bringing together my dough. Next, it will rest. After that, it rises for about 1 hour. Then I'll form it into those nice little cylindrical muffin shapes. If you know English muffins, you know what it looks like. If you don't, it's a cylindrical shape, almost in the shape of a muffin pan. And with that, my dough is just about ready. So it's time for it to go rest. All right, the English muffins are in the oven. So in the meantime, it's time to cook some mushrooms. I like mushrooms, the earthy flavor, the umami taste, and you know that real nice taste you get in the back of your mouth. That's what mushrooms give, and I love that. So we start off with a hot pan and some butter. To that, we're gonna add some grated garlic. No such thing as too much. This is a whole tablespoon. We're gonna add some onions to that as well. I actually need some fresh thyme, and that goes right in my butter as well. And what I'm looking for is for the aromatics to just soften a little bit. And at this point, I could add a heaping serving of my chopped mushrooms that I took my time and chopped fine. Right? Just let it sit and let the liquids render out. So this is just about done, but we have a final step. Turn off the heat and just a bit of fresh butter and mix that in, and that is the chef's kiss. Now is the moment I've been waiting for the entire time, assembly. So we start off with your English muffin. This is an open face sandwich. So we're gonna open the face. And on the base of this, we're gonna put those lovely mushrooms that we took our time to cook. A little bit for this one, and a little bit for this one. I don't know about you, but I love mushrooms. Now it's time for the poached egg. One for this guy, and one for this guy. So we have a smooth, creamy hollandaise sauce, and you want to be very generous with this one. This is where a lot of the flavor comes from. And speaking about flavor, you cannot beat the flavor of bacon. A whole strip for this one, and a whole strip for this one. And finally, because again, the name of this is chefed up, so we have to chef it up a little bit. And you don't get much more chefy than freshly shaved Parmesan on the top. More Parmesan, And finally, guys, it's time for the taste test. You know what? I'm gonna call somebody to taste this with me. DP, where? Everybody working so hard behind the scenes. You see me all the time, but there's a whole team behind here making sure I look good. So I gotta make sure they feel good and they're well fed. So, eggs Benedict, bacon, Parmesan, mushrooms
Nice
on
flavor.
top. Yeah, you know what? You go ahead and take the first taste. All yours.
So this is a knife and fork thing, or is that
Is
pick
a-
up and bite thing?
It's a knife and fork thing. So you have a fork there, let me grab your knife. There you go, my good friend. Would you make this for your significant other, wifey, home, wherever?
First things first, I'll make it for my mother.
All right.
She have a taste buds, you on it.
All right, all right,
Once
all right.
she
I like
approve
that.
it?
Yeah,
Make it for the wife.
that's a good plan.
Yeah, mommy like
Smart
it.
man
Yeah,
here.
I like it. Let me try it.
All right, all you.
Smaller. Bite size.
Yeah,
All right.
makes sense.
Don't know.
I think I passed the test. I think so.
I'll go straight to wife. I'll make it for the
Yeah,
wife.
yeah, one time.
One time.
Well, you know.
One time.
All right, well, DP running away, but this has been a great episode, first episode of Khary's Kitchen. First, we started it off with breakfast. We started a little sweet, a little savory, and then for the chef top, we had the eggs Benedict with bacon, with mushrooms, with Parmesan. So I hope you learned something, and I hope you could see that it was not too intimidating, not too difficult. Stay tuned until the next one in Khary's Kitchen.
Wow. Khary could cook.
Let me hear that again.
Khary could cook.
Stand by.
Khary's Kitchen, powered by Food Hall, Grocery Made Greater, Ibis, a tradition of excellence, Caribbean flavors. In the heart of every kitchen, Lotus, the confidence to create. Correga Garden Supplies, Good and Natural. Indie, spice up your life, distributed by Edward B.B. Harry. Champion, always a winner, distributed by Edward B.B. Harry. Lion, the power behind our great taste traditions. Excellence Stores Limited. Live, create, do.